Karen to start.
Lovely, thank you. I'm Karen Creavin, I'm the Chief Exec of the Active Wellbeing Society. I've had the privilege of working on a free bike scheme now for too many years. We started it in Birmingham. My colleagues that are here with me today will tell you about how it's moved across into Essex and Southall. You're going to see a little bit of us. We're going to sort of top and tail it. There is some tap dancing. I hope you've brought your shoes. You got that memo? Yeah? Excellent. I just want to really quickly just engage you just momentarily, please, in cycling. How many of you, put your hands up, how many of you can cycle? Okay, put your hands back down, brilliant, first test passed. How many of you learned as a child? Excellent, okay. How many of you taught your kids? Good splattering. How many of you can't afford to cycle, can't afford a bike? How many of you work with citizens who can't afford a bike? Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make a little bit of a point, really, about why free bikes are really important. I actually think Declan did a great job for me in the previous presentation, because his lovely video, the wonderful woman that talked to you about her journey, explained to you that she's got the bike on loan for a few months. And part of what we're talking about is actually removing cost as a barrier for cycling and actually giving people bikes. And we've cracked it, and we want to share with you how. Oh, it's that moment where it doesn't work. Oh, hang on. Excellent. So I'm not going to dwell on these slides. There are three of us. We've got only 20 minutes. If any of you who've ever heard of me, Kerry or Rajinder, before know that we could talk to you for 3 days and we'd still have plenty to say. So I'm going to whiz through these. But I think the most important thing that the hands up exercise demonstrated is that cycling is a skill for life. We've all got it. We work with children in Birmingham all the time, for example, who can ride a bike because they got taught to ride it at school but don't have one, or who actually can't ride a bike. And we work with lots of adults in Birmingham and across the country who can't ride bikes. It needs to be a whole system approach to tackling that, because cost is one of the significant barriers. So what you'll hear in common across all three of the initiatives that we're going to talk to you today about is that this is a single model that's got some core in the middle of it, which is about giving people bikes and then offering a wraparound around learning to ride the bike, and then the sort of social elements around bike riding that are unique to each place. So what you should pick up by the end of our presentation is that we're all doing it very slightly differently, but in many ways still the same. And we are three of Sport England's local delivery pilots. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the beginning, so further on, sorry. But you'll hear more about that too. But that's why we're all working together on this. I think what's really important is to talk about the co-benefits. That's the stuff on the right-hand, as you're looking at it, the right-hand side of the screen. The co-benefits of investing in bikes, free bikes for citizens, are that, yes, of course, you give them something that improves their health, but you're also helping them get to work, as points have been made previously. You're also offsetting some of the pressures on pollution and traffic that we've got in our communities. Importantly, we're doing something around social knitting and building resilience in communities, and you'll find out a bit more about that as we go through. And you're building trust. I genuinely believe that in giving citizens free bikes, we are resetting the relationship between state and citizen. We are saying to people that if we really are serious about wanting you to do things that are better for you and better for the planet, we're actually going to remove some of the barriers that stop you from being able to do that. And if we're not prepared to do that as a state, then what are we here for? I've mentioned before, we are 3 of 12 local delivery pilots that Sport England funded around innovation. We've had some funding from Sport England. Actually, in Birmingham, we got our original funding from Department for Transport, which I'll talk a little bit more about. We are now, the 3 of us are now involved in a gold standard impact review of the work that we're doing, so that we have got a cost-benefit evidence base for Active Travel England. That's where we're headed. We are trying to make the case that we've demonstrated it's replicable and scalable. We now want to make the case to government for investing in this top down. I can't do this presentation without acknowledging some amazing partners that we've had in this programme right from the outset. When we first got the money in Birmingham City Council from Department for Transport to procure at the time 5,000 bikes, no local authority had ever procured it. Whatever you've heard about Birmingham City Council in the last week or so, put that to one side for a second, because we did a really, really lovely, robust process on procuring 5,000 bikes at the time. And Raleigh won that contract. and they've been with us ever since, and they have been an amazing partner in this work. And without Rally, there would be people today riding around on bikes that wouldn't have them. Not because Rally got paid for it, but because Rally donated nearly as many as they gave us. It's been a fantastic relationship and something I'm really proud of. And anybody who knows me well as a diehard socialist would know I don't give those kinds of endorsements lightly. The other relationship we've got is with C-Sense, who do a whole load of work with us around effectively GPS tracking the bikes so that we know where people are going. And you're going to see some very swanky slides in a second that will show you the benefit of that. It all started with Big Birmingham Bikes, which was, I have to say, was the working title on the back of a napkin in Costa Coffee in about 2014. Birmingham City Council got the opportunity to bid for some funding for Department for Transport, and we honestly thought they'd invited us to bid to make up the numbers, because it was about a cycling revolution, and Birmingham was so car-orientated, we honestly didn't think we stood a chance of winning. And it was lovely, because that gave us the opportunity to dream about what we'd like to bid for, not taking ourselves terribly seriously, because we didn't think we'd get the money. And I was in a meeting with the highways, head of highways at the time, and I was saying, let's ask for £1 million for bikes. Now, the reason I said that was because we'd been lending people bikes, as you heard in the previous video. We'd been lending people bikes for 6 months at a time to help them make the transition into cycling to work. And people were giving us back the bikes. And I am not exaggerating. People were crying as they gave us back the bikes, saying, I've loved this bike. It's been absolute freedom, not just for work, but for my social life. It's changed my attitude to life. I still, however, cannot afford the capital outlay for a bike because I've got kids to feed, or I've got uniforms to buy, or I've got a birthdays coming up. So people said to us, loved it, changed my behaviour, now I'm giving you the bike back though, I'm going back to whatever else they were doing. Often not travelling, not engaging, not able to get to work. So we asked for £1 million for bikes because we didn't think we'd get it. And I honestly did back of a napkin job, and said, how many bikes do we think we can get for £1 million? Oh, they're about £200 each, aren't they? Let's say 5,000 bikes. If we get 22 million for Department of Transport, 21 for all the typical stuff that you would see in a cycling infrastructure bid, and £1 million for bikes, we'll give away 5,000 free bikes, and we'll GPS track them so that we know where they're going and that they're being used. I spoke to a colleague of mine who worked in accounting in the council, and he said, after 6 months they disappear off the capital register because they're a capital write-off. So the council at the end of 6 months wouldn't need to account for where the bikes went, so we could actually do it so that we could give people bikes after 6 months if they demonstrated that they used the bike regularly enough. And that's how the scheme started. The evolution of it, I guess, ultimately, was that we started out with 5,000 bikes. We've now, in Birmingham, given away 9,000 bikes. We've moved from just adults' bikes to adults and children's bikes, and increasingly we're doing bikes on prescription with our GP colleagues, and looking at things now like adapted bikes. Well, adapted bikes were in it from the beginning, but adapted bikes, e-bikes, and recycled bikes. It's been phenomenally popular in the city. They're bright orange, the bikes. If you go to Birmingham and you see one of the orange bikes, you get a quid. No, not really. But I used to say that to my kids because I used to get them to point them out to me. The amount of times that I nearly ran into the road to accost a cyclist because I was like, have you got your free bike? Like everyone was mine, but obviously it's not. It's been fantastic. Some of the impact you can see up there. I'm not going to go through it all, but you can see some of the impact at the point where we'd given away 7,260 bikes. This was the impact of the work that we'd done. I think really importantly for me are these two. This one and this one, okay? We did not intend to set up any community cycling groups. That wasn't in the remit at all. But once people had a bike and it changed their life, they wanted to give something back. Now, these are people who didn't have anything particularly to give back, but they wanted to give something back. So we trained them up as ride leaders, and they set up community cycling groups in their communities because they wanted other people to enjoy cycling as much as they did. And most importantly, because the sector offer hadn't got it right for them. So the traditional cycling offer that was out there wasn't aimed at people like them, and they knew it. So they wanted to put that right. So we now in Birmingham have over 26 self-run cycling community groups formed by people who got given a free bike. And 82% of the people that got the bikes are participants from the top 20% most deprived households in the country. Now, in Birmingham anyway, there's 1.1 million people. 408,000 of them live in the top 10% most deprived households in the country. So as much as you've heard that Birmingham hasn't managed its money very well, the impact on its citizens will be catastrophic. They are already incredibly poor. it's been really important that we've been able to demonstrate that the bikes went to the right places. And really importantly, 86% of those bikes went out to BAME communities, the types of people you don't typically, in Birmingham, in the past, see out riding bikes. They are not white men in lycra on fast bikes. These are women in hijabs. These are older women. That's, I think, one of our oldest women that's been learning to ride in one of our sister organisations at the moment is 89. So, I'm going to shush now, and I'm going to tap dance my way across the stage for my colleague Kerry to come and tell you about Essex.
You thought I was the tap dancer, didn't you? But it's actually Rajinder.
You have 6 minutes left for both of you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. All right, so very quickly. So Essex, my name's Kerry McDonald. I work for Active Essex, one of the active partnerships, one of 43. So hopefully there's a few more in the room as well. But most importantly, we're one of 12 local delivery pilots funded by Sport England. And so we're hosted within Essex County Council. And people will go, oh, that's very bureaucratic. It's fantastic. All those outcomes that Karen outlined, we have instant access to them in the County Council. So we can go and talk to transport, public health, economic development, levelling up. We've got access to that, and that's what's really made a difference for us. And with the local delivery pilot, we've had the freedom, genuine freedom, to test and innovate. And that's what we've done around a community cycling programme called Essex Pedal Power. So Essex is huge. Many of you, I hope, have visited it. It's absolutely massive, but the coloured bits, and that's particularly around the coast, is where our worst deprivation is. Jaywick is notorious for supposedly having the worst LSOA in the country in terms of deprivation. We actually go to Jaywick. It's lovely, lovely people. It's really, really knitted together. So all of that hype, I just don't believe. But we saw a real opportunity to make a difference. And it genuinely, from the start, was not about the bike. I know that sounds like Lance Armstrong, but it's not. It's about Essex Pedal Power really trying to say we can make a difference in really challenged communities here. It happens to be the bike. But the impact we're seeing at individual level, at family level, and most importantly at community level is absolutely incredible. So we started in Clacton and Jaywick, and we honestly thought, Karen and I did a little workshop just before COVID. Our aspiration was probably 200-300 bikes. The opportunity in Essex is huge. It's that kind of proud county where there is genuine opportunity. There's genuinely little politics, so you can make progress quickly, and we made progress quickly. So we've managed to secure quite a lot of funding to enable us now. We can't believe this. We genuinely can't. We're running a £6.2 million programme, nearly 4,000 free bikes, and Karen, I thought, articulated beautifully the impact that a free bike can have on an individual and communities. You've heard about the trackers, and we've given away 1,200 so far. We even link it to new infrastructure. That's new infrastructure linking Clacton Pier to Jaywick, and it is used massively. So that's what the data is telling us so far, and we've got reduced car journeys, reduced physical inactivity, increased life satisfaction, increased volunteering, all the things that Karen was talking about. My favourite is increased community trust, what we call social knitting, the way that the people interact on the bikes, they talk to people they don't normally talk to. That builds trust, and that builds a closer knit community. It really is lovely to see, and I can't wait to show the video at the end from Rajinder, where you actually hear from the people who are benefiting. And here's my last slide. So this is a shout out to C-Sense. Unbelievable the data they're giving us. I'm not a data person. Our transport people get very excited about this sort of data. Very, very excited. And we are hearing about or know where the bikes are going, how often they're used. But they're looking at what can we do about future investment? You know, where is there problems around braking, swerving, and road surface? All of that data is coming in. So we're really making progress in Essex. We're expanding this year to 3 new places, Harwich, Colchester, and Basildon. And then Canvey Island will be coming on. We've really got some momentum going, and it all started because Karen started Big Birmingham Bikes in there. So I'll hand over to Rajinder now. Thank you.
Hello. I think I found a gap in the market. So I'm Rajinder Singh, Ealing Council. Never worked for a local authority. Got introduced to this cycling project. We've got a different approach, which is some of the layers that Karen was talking about, the wraparound support to cycling. So I see in front of me lots of system leaders. What we do is provide community leadership into cycling. So for people, and I have this from my trading floor background, quite cheesy phrases. So I like to make community cycling glamorous. So it's cool to go to the shops. It's amazing to go to school with your kids on a bike. So people going through places, but what are the people in the place? And I don't normally script my speeches. And I actually had the same idea as Karen about asking you about your cycling experience and how you felt like when you cycled and when you learnt to cycle or when you taught your kids to cycle. But imagine doing that if you had multiple other issues to tackle at the same time. English wasn't your first language. Literacy, you're not, even interpreting things like risk assessments is difficult for you. So what we do in Southall, in a community where there was pretty much zero cycling, people looked at me and said, "You want to get people cycling in Southall? Nobody cycles in Southall." One of the catchphrases was, "You can't get Asian women to cycle." And Asian women are the biggest group that are cycling with us. They love cycling. And I think, I was just thinking about what Mike and Tom said right at the start today. And I kept thinking about creating the conditions for people to lead healthier lifestyles and using some of our community resources to create the change and kind of almost tackle some of the problems we have from a different perspective. And that's part of the WHO strategy, part of Sporting's new Uniting the Movement strategy. And our social movement in Southall is about getting the people together to find a solution that works for them. So we have hyper-local training, and we really go for the training. So the mums or the parents, and they come with their children to a local place where they feel safe and connected, and they speak to people that look like them, and they can relate to them. And then they go through a phase of training, and we really push the training. So do the training. And I've got colleagues here in Thalia and other people that get involved in training. It's actually quite hard to get people to train. And the politicians and my accountants are looking at me thinking, "Oh, you're spending a lot of money on training, a lot of money, sort of a lot of time, and your figures are a little bit lower than other places, 412. And you're supposed to go up to 2,500. But we've built infrastructure from scratch. Right now, today, I have a group that are learning, that are being trained to become cycling instructors, because I can't get cycling instructors in Southall. One of those guys is a guy in a wheelchair. The trainers are amazed that this guy in a wheelchair is going to become a cycling instructor. But it's the community helping itself and finding solutions for itself. So yes, we are creating local hubs, local infrastructure, and appetite for people to cycle together. But I kind of was thinking, if I put you into, I don't know, Paraguay or some other country, and then you learnt to cycle, and then you connected with friends and you created that community, how much more cycling would mean to you? And those are some parts of our community in London. It's rich, it's diverse, but they have their own challenges. So cycling for them is a much bigger accomplishment, and it's been a bigger benefit in terms of financially, in terms of just them getting around. And that is an absolute barrier for people. It's not just the person, it's their family, their children. So we've got a model where we're creating a cycling culture from scratch. The bike is having a good quality bike is absolutely a barrier for these people. And it makes a huge amount of difference to the system, to the people. I've been talking to colleagues in the breakout. So this is the largest Sikh Gurdwara outside India, has now got a Halford-style cycling hub. Now that is the community helping itself. And that's massive. Please come down and have some free food and a bike. But that's a new way and a new approach that we're looking in Southall. So we've increased the rings of support around the cycling. We learnt a lot from Birmingham and working with Essex and colleagues, and we do definitely have found a solution. It's a complex problem and needs multi-layered solution in cycling. We really genuinely feel some of that gap. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to go into the video, been prompted. This is our GPS, quick talking. Daily free cycling in the place. Just come and cycle. We'll give you a bike. Just come and cycle. And we've got some friends you meet. So every day they're cycling. Oh, okay, right. There you go.
I'm presented with a bike, and I was like, whoa, very shocked. This sort of thing doesn't happen to me. What's going on?
Even when I was collecting, I still thought, no, this is too good to be true.
Not only do they give you the bike, they give you the helmet, the lights, they actually train you to ride the bike, and they maintain it for you.
What's really great about Essex Pedal Power, it's free bikes. It's the most affordable way to get around.
There's days where you have nothing to do and you've got no money. You can just go on your bike and just go and don't have to worry about anything. It's very fun.
Cycling I did for mental health. I tried doctors' medications, and bicycle riding was the best medicine really that I could have.
For the amount of energy that you output, the benefits that come back are tenfold.
I've lost about a stone since I've had the bike, and I'm meeting new people.
I never thought I would meet and go out socialising with people from Jaywood.
There's a big community built around them. And then you've got loads of little sprinter groups that have come off.
Where we go cycling together twice a week, and we have great fun. Lifts your mental state.
We spent 2.5 years seeing full.
I'm presented with a bike, and I was like, whoa.
It's such brilliant work. I'm sorry, it's not a fun job having to stop people shorting